All right, so let's dive into it. So goal number one, understand that the brain is a complex system made up of smaller complex systems. Okay, so I have a picture of the brain here, and let's think about some functions of the brain. So obvious functions of the brain. It thinks, it plans, it's in charge of bodily motion and balance, etc. Reading and writing, we need our brains for that. Less obvious functions. Regulates our heartbeat. Emotions and feelings all come from the brain. Our immune system drives. So like when I feel hungry, that's because there's been an interaction between the brain and other parts of my body. My brain's been notified that I'm hungry, and then my body releases chemicals that say, hey, go eat. You need it. Okay? So we've got a picture of a whole brain here. Those are our functions. Picture of an entire brain. What's important to know, your brain is not a single whole organ that can do any of these functions in any place of the brain. That's not how the brain works, right? So we see this and we think a brain is one thing, just like a stomach is a stomach and a heart is a heart. But it's actually a system and it's made up of parts, okay? Each part has its own purpose and it needs the other parts to function properly. So let's peel back this image of just the brain to see what is going on inside and get a quick look at the different parts of the brain, right? So on the outer, we have the prefrontal cortex, so occipital lobe, parietal lobe, frontal lobe, temporal lobe. You don't have to memorize these parts. You just have to know that there are different parts, and each part has a different function. Inside the brain, we have basal ganglia, brainstem, spinal, cerebellum, thalamus, hippocampus, pituitary gland. There's a lot of stuff in there. Okay, a lot of different parts. So to kind of think through this goal, the brain is a complex system made up of smaller complex systems. I know that's new, and it's probably hard to absorb it, right? So here's an analogy that might make things a little clearer. So our brain is a complex system made up of smaller complex systems. A car, which we are familiar with, is also a complex system made up of smaller complex systems, right? So the obvious function of a car, go, stop, turn, etc. Less obvious functions that happen in a car, combustion, airflow, electrical timing, spark, temperature, regulation, lubrication. There's all these different systems within the system of a car that are necessary for the car to work properly, right? So just to go through some real quick, right? There's a braking system that's responsible for stopping the car. If the car's not going, the brakes don't do anything, okay? The engine, which is actually made up of more smaller systems, mixes air and fuel for combustion, which powers the wheels to be able to turn. There's a cooling system that makes sure that the metal components of the engine don't melt when they rub together, right? There's a lubrication system, which makes sure that the metals don't break down when they rub together, right? So in a car, there's all these different systems that make up the one system of a car. Our brain is the same way. We have a brain which has its purpose and its functions, but it has other parts in it, and they all work together to make the whole thing work. Okay.